Okay, I think we might be live. Oh, it's been live. Great. Welcome. My name is Dan Levy. We will be doing some open source, hopefully this time for real. Let me get this link shared. And this time we'll get ready. And thanks, Alts, for retweeting that. And here is the real link. Okay, so that is out there, and yes, the cat is back. I meant to give credit to the photographer who put this on Unsplash, but I forgot your name. I'm sorry. This is a great photo. Okay, let's see if my screen share works. This was the big thing that failed me last time. Okay. Okay, and let's see, is that working? If anyone's in the chat, let me know if that's not working. I should see some mountains. I will throw something real on there. Okay. Here is a fantastic library for running child processes. And I love this library, but I believe most people have, let me turn my sound down there. Most people that I've recommended this to struggle to implement it and usually fumble around the some of the funniness around how child processes work in Node and systems in general. So let's take a look here. This is a lot better than using the child process module, which I don't know if you've used this, but it's native to Node. It's built right in. You don't have to npm install it. But this is a, there's some weirdness. You've got to deal with input and output from a process. And basically, every computer defines 3 channels of data that are standard. In fact, they're called standard and the direction or the type of data stream is coming out. So this is output. This is our error. And there's also input. So if you wanted to stream data into a process, you could do that. And then you've got like events on these streams that you listen to figure out when closing's done or when the stream is flushed. And that can lead to some really complex and finicky code. Execa deals with a part of that weirdness. So I don't know if it's much value to look at the node docs much more here. I want to switch back here because I want to take apart this mystery to me. Why do some people just take to this package and get it implemented no problem? And why do some people just struggle? And as an instructor, when I see this in my students, it usually means there's some issue with when you Google it, you may find a very popular blog that's out of date. That's a common issue. Or you may actually find different examples that some people may click on one example that comes early, that may be out of date. There may be patterns that they're not familiar with, like async here, or maybe they're more familiar with promises or callbacks for that matter. So there's a couple things I just want to kind of walk through my process of how I analyze docs and kind of give you some insight onto some standards I aim for and their reasoning. So one of those standards is I want to be able to copy paste this stuff into an editor. So that's one piece. And I also want to make sure that these examples are, usable, they make sense, and show someone something practical. So I think this first example is really practical, like it, or really familiar. I think it's using one of the most common shell commands, echo, which just takes what you give it and prints it out. In fact, let me open my terminal here. Okay, so here we go. Let me write out this command just to show you what it does. And there we go. We printed out echo, or we printed out unicorn with echo. So this is what we see in the terminal here is actually the standard out. So standard out here is the name for the stream of output. Now let's go and try this real quick. I guess I'm in my open source temp directory. Let's just create a folder to play around in. Let's create an npm package JSON, install execa. And let's just use Visual Studio Code here. Oh. Wrong window, there we go. Okay, so here we have execa, and this is a pretty cool snippet. It should do exactly what we see the shell is doing over here. And there we go. Unicorns, great success. So this is why I think it's a great library. That it is, in fact, you can meet the standard of just copying and pasting something. That's actually harder than you'd think. Many libraries mess that up or overlook things that, redefining consts. When you're a junior looking at stuff, you may not be, you can easily get lost when you've got a C that's a few hundred lines there, maybe 100 lines there. It can be hard to parse and just when you're throwing stuff at the wall at that phase early in your very, very first days as a developer, or months or whatever, I won't judge. This can be really hard to process and apply. And also we're dealing with a library that's inherently complex because of the stuff in child process. So this is a really big challenge. Like this isn't something I'm critiquing Cinder about or anyone who worked on this. So let's take a look at some of the weirdness, see if we can make sense of it or improve it. And one of the first things you'll notice is there's things in square brackets. You've got arrays of arguments, and those are actually very easy to get wrong. Let's see, there was an example somewhere else down here. Let me just jump down real quick. Actually, we'll get to that stuff later. Let me go back. Okay, let me make sure I've got my chat up here. Okay. Okay, so like there's the stuff that they'll print out here that's also just dense technical jargon. You've got some system error codes here, enote, ENT. You may be confused as to what that is. Generally means a file's not found. But there's the reason I know that is because I've done this before and messed with these starting processes with other languages and tools. It can be fun, and I don't mean that. These error messages can be inscrutable and just really hard to Google. And the trick is really to Google less. So these codes, they are Googleable. You can go and say, yo, end, what is this? And I'm sure there's some amazing explanation here. Error, no entry, or no entity. That's great news. So we're dealing with a legacy thing that comes from the dawn of time, and it's in Node today. But you'll notice it in a lot of other languages. So it's not something that's exclusive to Node or really that I'm picking on it at all. Other frameworks and languages do have some, they do override that messaging, but sometimes it's an open debate whether you want to stick with a standard, a legacy naming structure that is just everywhere, or you want to make something sane that is perhaps harder to Google at first. And phone, you're supposed to be quiet. Unless it's just someone promoting, appreciate it. Okay. So let's take a look at these examples here, because they don't seem to use these multiple separated arguments. Like every spaced value has to have a new array element. So if we were to do a, let's go and do, let's do a git init in here. Get some good multi-option git commands, because then we can run them and compare. So git add. Trying to type these out in full. I realize my aliases don't really help anyone, so I have to think about it for a sec. Initial. There we go. Of course I did. And here is how you fix this. So what I did is I actually committed my node modules like you're never supposed to do. And I'm sure my students are going to give me grief for it and deserve it. But here is the fix. So we want to remove these files from our git index, and we want to do it recursively. So this is like a regular rm rf command, but I'm doing it in the git inside git. And so I've also got to add this cached option and put my path. And I just always use tab autocomplete to confirm that that is the correct place for that argument. And let's see. Oh, I double. There we go. Yeah, if you want to combine single letter flags, you've got to use a single dash. But this means these were successful. Let's do a git status. Did it add? Well, I can do git add and clean up modules. And there we go. So said I'm not using my aliases. I actually deleted them. Okay, so now we can do. Okay, so let's try execute a. Let's write some node scripts actually, because that'd be kind of cool. I can show you how to work with arguments inside other scripts. So you can write scripts that call scripts that call scripts. And yo, dog, I heard you like scripts. Okay, CMD1. And so what I want to do is use something called process.argv. It's actually how you can use, it's a global way in Node to access the arguments passed to your command. So I just want to explore this. The reason I'm going through this process to like actually code some of this up is because I want to see if I can simplify some of these examples with what I would think is something that might be more helpful. It's kind of weird that this says catching an error and it's all like jumbled into one, again, echo unicorns example. Like I think this could probably be a different example, like maybe a node dash dash version. Or this catching an error should probably be in its own block separately, because this is it's just too big. And these details in line, they should probably link back to where they're coming from in the process documentation in Node's API docs. So those are like my initial thoughts. I didn't surface, but that's kind of where I'm at, and I want to see if we can just play around a little bit, learn a couple things about how these tools work and how to pass commands around, and I'll see if I can get an open source commit in before the deadline. Sometimes that feature in your phone where you can flip it on a pixel and it goes silent, sometimes that works. Okay, so I want to run a script here in the cmd1.js. So let's go and console log our process.argv. So let's save that. I'm just going to go ahead and call it. Okay, so right off the bat, argv is going to have the node version I'm using and the path to the script. So one of the things we can do is we can say something like this. I'll break this down in a second. Actually, I can't do that unless I have that many array items. So let me save that and show you. I can. Okay, cool. So what this means, I want to be able to actually run this command like so. I can say greeting, and then I can say hola. And check that out. So greeting and hola are both my last two arguments in this array. So what I can do is I can use some array destructuring here to pull out option and value. And so let me drop those in there and check that out. So now I have an object. Well, I wrap this in an object, but I have an option string with dash dash greeting and one with hola. That's a pretty clean way to get arguments out of if you're in Node, or out of your command line arguments from a script within Node. And I don't know, if we have time later, we can maybe look at how to do it in Shell or Bash. But let's go ahead and see if we can change this up, make this a slightly better example. So node, and I want to pass in cmd1. Okay, so actually, let me do this without the array command arguments at first, because this will work. So if you just want to make your life a little easier, so if you want to make your life easier, this is, well, what do you know? It's our int. It's because I haven't given it a file path. So let's do this as a string template literal. And again, this is like why you'd want to have a more complete example in the code, is because your initial experience just like blindly copying stuff, you can have stuff break. So I'm suspecting that my path is needs to go right in here. So dir name. There we go. Interesting. So failed. I wonder if it can't find my node process. Interesting. So let's go and actually let me get rid of the async await stuff. And put in some error handling in here. Okay. Hey, at least that looks prettier. Okay, so it's trying to run that CMD1 from index. So that's what this is telling me. And so eno.ent, I wonder if this part of the docs is more important than they let on. So no escaping or quoting is needed. So let's see. Do they have an example where the command is all as one? Oh, and there is a node one. Maybe I have to do that. Okay, let me try this because it's already got some built-in support, it looks like. Okay, execute.node. So now let me just try the CMD1. Let me give it a greeting. And let's just say it's my cat saying a greeting. Okay, there we go. Exit code 1. Maybe it's interesting. So I believe I probably have to put these arguments in an array, which is what I thought this was telling me I didn't have to do. Where was that? So hey Christian, Dylan, how's it going? Hey, I see we got 13 people. My other windows were covering that up. Welcome, welcome. Let me fill you all in. I'm trying to take apart this library that I love that is a great way to run processes and automate systems from Node. The thing I'm trying to understand is why some people who I recommend this to seem to really get stuck and frustrated, and I'm kind of stumbling into the answer there. So let's look here. And so what I said earlier was that this is a very good intro right here. This is a highly readable example on how to echo out the word unicorns. If you've ever used a command prompt and ever used the echo command, this should be pretty readable. However, when you are, there's kind of just a little bit of white space. It says additional examples, and then there's just this 100-line example here. There's a lot of nesting, a lot of stuff coming at you. It mixes error handling. It's got some simulated delays in here. So there's probably a way to even show this using a shell feature called sleep. That might be a better example for this. So there's a lot of things in these examples, or just breaking these out and putting them, putting some more descriptive text. So that will be, that's kind of where I'm going. And I think that's the direction I'm gonna code here. Actually, let's just start doing that, because I think we've done enough research into the library here. As much fun as this is, playing with it and showing you some cool patterns on how to pass arguments around and get options from scripts. Let's see. Let me just prove this theory though. Option 1. And then here we want to do Rosie the kitty. I'll call her Rage Monster. She was playing with her toys very aggressively earlier, so. Okay. Interesting. So this is the command it's running. Oh, does it not need the, cannot find module, and it's a full path. So I wonder if it's like that. Oh, I've got a space there. That might be it. So this, what I'm seeing is CJS, which is the CommonJS file loader. And the way it loads files is, it's got some rules there. So let me see here. Exit code. Hey, great success. So check that out. That's the data we want. It was being previously pulled out of std out, which we can actually just extract here with some destructuring. And what do I miss? I've got a new autocomplete thing installed in VS Code called Tab 9, which I highly recommend, except it's almost too good. But I don't want to get distracted on that. That'll be another one. So here you go. This is the same output we had when we were calling the script direct. So you can see there's a there's many gotchas when you're using Execa. Like I would like to put this on a like provide varied examples for this. So this is a little more digestible. Going straight from example without annotation directly to API is a pretty hard transition for people as well. So that's the high level. And by the way, let me just point out something that I've observed as an instructor. And that is API docs are like the least useful to juniors. They don't, some of them are struggling to understand the syntax around the function signature definitions. And a lot of people use a lot of jargon to describe that. Try to avoid that and make that, use the correct term. But this isn't a, this isn't supposed to be gatekeeping. So like these things experts take for granted. You know, this just showing that these options are optional, having examples with those would also help quite a bit. And I don't see any example with that third argument. So yeah, there's some common cases that, you know, we could just add some footholds and handholds on the mountain there that are going to make it easier for a junior to start using this. So let's try and narrow down the scope here. Let's figure out what we're going to do. Okay, so let me double check my chats here. So let me pull out the errors and the success cases. I want to show a couple different ways to run this. and just put headers. We won't write any extra text. Anything beyond additional examples should be an improvement. So let's see, and sorry, I don't mean to pick on Cinder here, or like I said, anyone who's wrote this. These are, this is often better than my sixth draft docs. It takes a lot of effort to really fine tune and get docs in the right level. So let me go and clone this locally, because this is definitely going to be a little bit more than something I can just do in the inside GitHub. I like to try and use the editor here for documentation changes. I just think that with all the ideas I've kicking around, I really want to focus. So let me go into my editor here. Clone. Okay, and okay, so here's Execa. Let me bust that open full screen. Hey, Mobile Jones. Hey, Execa is a tool to let you run things from the command line with Node. You can automate other scripts, other programs. You could run Git commands or NPM commands, anything to your heart's content. It's a great way to really open the doors and interact with everything else on your computer. So it is super powerful, and it is way better to work with than the Node.js's built-in child process API, which is showing its age. It doesn't support promises. It's got a couple things there that can be a little frustrating for people who've learned the language recently, who aren't immersed in streams and callbacks and all that. So let's say our so let's just start with additional examples. Let's get more specific here. So what is the difference between this and this? Okay, it looks like this is connecting directly to the stream output. And this is using our async await. So the async await looks good. Let's just take out the, let's just title this example. That's interesting. So this is actually connecting to the process you're running in and injecting the content straight into the same terminal output. It kind of might seem inception-y, it kind of is. But this right here is probably a great title for here. Pipe the child process standard out to the current standard out to the parent. I think that maybe that saves some words. That seems like a long title, but it's really descriptive. So let's go and let's copy that. Okay, so there's one example labeled. Okay, so let's do the next one. So, I mean, even right here, we could just say error examples, and I can just get my Hacktoberfest points in. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know what time zone they're counting, or maybe I should get on that. So this one I'm going to call error handling. Nope. So like the reason it's guessing those random words and I'm mistyping is my new and AI enabled or enhanced autocomplete tab 9. I'm still adjusting. So okay, so here maybe this is better. It's called handling errors. There we go. Okay, I'll keep checking the or watching the chat if you want to shoot me any questions. So let's go and let's maybe take some of the noise out of this, because I think these do still need to be broken out. I don't want to just phone this in. Yeah, this stuff is really helpful. So, Okay, so let's just take these comments here. And that's one of the cool things about working on docs. Like maintainers don't often realize that they've got the content out there and it just needs a little bit of formatting. Like what might actually turn out weird here is I might not actually do much other than just put these comments in titles and make it a little clearer that these are multiple examples. And it may not be a radical enhancement, but it does make it easier for a newbie to digest. Hopefully that'll be proven out in my anecdotal observations. So, and I guess if you don't know what interrupts are or what sigterm or sigkill are, I guess that's probably something you could easily Google. Let's stick to just one of these examples at a time. Where does this brace end? Okay, that's that catch block. Okay. Well, here's another example. And it's async await. Do I? So let's go and just copy this as it was. So I'm going to use an async wrapper just like this. I'm going to try and make this as minimal as possible, or as minimal to get the job done. And that's going to be like this. If I can type, oh my God, this new Mac keyboard, not a fan. Okay, and then catching there with sync command. Okay. Okay, handling errors. Canceling a spot process, catching an error with the sync method, kill a process with sigterm. And we could probably actually put this on the next line using sigterm. And after 2 seconds, kill it with sigkill. Okay, so that's what this force kill after timeout. Okay, that's probably saving the extra timeout in the example that would be needed. Okay, so let me just make sure my headers here have the right number of indents. So I got 3 and 2. So let me so this is still under usage. Okay, there we go. That looks good. Okay, so this looks like a minimal thing. We've broken out these comments that were hiding this content in just a giant block of code. So let's maybe see if this this comment is more appropriate here. So because this is handling errors and that's specific to async await, and you've got to use try catch, I think it is probably useful to have an example with promises. I just don't want to copy this whole thing because there's just no, I don't know if I saw .then or .catch somewhere here. Yeah, .catch. Yeah, so that's not in there. And I think it'd be helpful to have something that includes more. So let's copy this unknown command one, because that's a relatively, not sync though. Catching an error with a sync method, and then catching an error. And this can be renamed. Catching an error with the. Sorry, it's getting late. Mobile Jones. Yeah, I will try to do this earlier, and I guess I don't know, I'm going to have to do alternating times. I got a lot of time zones to accommodate here, but I appreciate it. I'll see you. I'll see you next time. Okay, so let's get this alternate example in here, so it's not just so the async await bias isn't so obvious. So catching an error with dot catch. So dot catch is how you catch errors in Promised Land. What's the promise? Let's just say dot catch. It's a pretty common for developers to know what that means, though I hate shorthand and assumptions like that. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So this is where the success would come out if it would work. So we can say result and console log, there we go. And so you can see this is what I mean by this autocomplete being amazing. So put that there. And this is where our unknown command is going to get caught. So let's save that. Let me go run this in my test project there. Okay. Error catch.js, paste. Oh, I don't know if we want to include the execa import on every one now. Like that's another reason sometimes people will overlook putting the import or the require statement in multiple snippets. You'll have, I'll show you that in a sec. Let me just finish testing this. You don't want to repeat the same line over and over and over, and it gets more annoying as if you have like 20 examples. You don't want to have a bunch of 3-line examples like this wasting 2 extra lines just to show you the import. So, but I think that does require that you have actually many, many examples to do that right, so that people get a clear idea at the very top that this is the import they need to make. They know developers should know how to do imports, but if the bar entry to, or the barrier to entry in using your library is so low that everyone uses it, well, that will make you internet famous. So let's make sure we provide an easy on-ramp to the beginners out there. Okay, so here, let's go and run this with Node. Come on, Eric. Oh, this is the folder I created. There we go. So our thing does indeed print an error. And I don't think we need to print all of this. We'll just put it after the async await one with the full block. So maybe we can include that. Okay, so let's go back to the other project. And I will show the error. Let's break that out. And I'm noticing there's a couple other things I just overlooked. So apparently, according to the code style that is in the examples around me, this is a very semicolon and tab happy document. So let me make sure my code is following that. Does not look like I am. Add semi there. Let's move this below. Okay. So there, that one looks good. Not quite. There we go. That looks good now. And I didn't break anything else here. Okay, so this is what I was talking about earlier about the const execa equals require execa. That over and over and over again is a pretty repetitive thing to see. But that's kind of the point. I want it to be annoying enough that you don't forget it. Like that's, I think we're at that level where this is probably enough examples, but it's such a nice experience when you can just copy paste some code off a README and it just works. Like if you don't have to actually think about it at all, there's a magical difference between, wait, do I need this? Oh, I'm using this front-end framework library. How do I get these styles in here? And how do I, you know, just to test it in your project, to throw it in there and see if it'll work. It's super nice just to be able to copy paste an example, change one or two things, and have a reasonable guarantee that the example was working in the first place, or has an error in here, and hopefully it's clearly labeled now. Okay, so I think we're ready to actually do the pull request. Let's take a look here. Just make this even. A shout out on chat if you find any, if you spot any tabs or any semis that I missed. Okay, I want to follow the spacing around the example as well. Wait, maybe, were those mine? Okay. So those aren't consistent. So I try to be almost like OCD level, like paying attention to, is my code going to jive with theirs? Did I follow the implicit conventions? Did I look for a contributor guide? I think there's one. I think you'd either find one in the GitHub folder called contributing or in the root of the project, and I don't see one. Sometimes that stuff is in the README here. No, I guess there's nothing about contributing. Let me jump up here, let me save. Okay, let me open my terminal here, and let's do this. I'm gonna go ahead and, yeah, let me go fork this, because I think I just cloned this off the main repo. Okay, so first steps first, or at least to make it easier, let me go fork. And it looks like I have before. Cool, cool. Okay, git remote, add. Let's just do my handle there, just SML. Okay, so git checkout -b. Clean up examples. Okay. And so I think that's good. Let's go ahead and do a git add, git commit, and say clean up and label examples. So git push, and let's see. And so if you look here, it's going to give me a, it usually gives me a link to create a pull request. I miss a step, or, okay, well, let's try and, Interesting. Usually it prompts me for that stuff, but. Okay, so here's what I'm looking for. So this is the master current version, and on the right side are my examples. So this is how it should look. Let me go and create this pull request. Okay. Okay, so this is where I'm going to itemize just the things that I did. And I try not to use language like this was terrible or something like that, because that doesn't help anyone. Don't do that. What you want to do is say, just stick to the things here that, thanks for this great library. It's usually a good thing to say because maintainers don't get to hear that enough. Thanks for this amazing library. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I not watched your videos. I'm sorry. So this is a fighting off a sneeze. I'll fix this in post. Okay, so let's get this thing just itemized. Bill of goods here. I'm going to just put asterisk space. This is markdown support for bullet point lists. So let's just say use comments to label examples with headers in markdown. Just so it's something short and sweet, like my goal was to become YouTube famous. And let me make sure to share this. And hey, Elijah, what's up? Just in time. I'm trying to get YouTube famous here. Excellent. I got my link. And I live coded this in the spirit of Hacktoberfest, my favorite holiday. And I can't type at the moment. It's been a long day. Please tell me there's a pumpkin. Oh my God. Where's your emoji game? This is embarrassing. Okay. Live coded this in the spirit of Hacktoberfest, and my goal is to become YouTube famous and help with your README. And I think that deserves one of those. Okay. Let's see. There was another thing that I added, and I forgot that one. But I did remember. It was added a promise example. Right. More set of set of users. That's awkwardly worded. Yeah, Elijah, are you asking for help in live and in my stream? It's cool. Yeah, of course. Yeah, Slack me, dude. So I'll stay good. I got my kitten. We're good. We're good. Thanks, Kimberly. Excellent. Let's okay, I think this is ready to submit here. I live coded this in the spirit of Hacktoberfest. Okay, I think that looks good. Send. Bam. Oh my God, that's, I think, PR number 5. That is, I think, what you need to qualify. Let's see if I made it by the deadline. And thank you, DigitalOcean, for putting this on every year. This is amazing. Oh, wow. That is insane. Those are some great numbers. 60,000 people completed this year. I heard there was something like 40 or 50,000 last year. That's great. Let's see. Is there a sign up here? I see my account. Is everyone else doing this at the same time? Hey, 5. Yay, I completed Hacktoberfest. Hey, I can, I guess don't share this. Well, too late. Don't judge. Okay, hopefully that claimed it for me. Okay, thank you all. I will see you next time. It's been great, and I will start on time next time. See you. Thank you all.